They look just like everyone else. Charming, confident, sometimes even magnetic. But behind that polished smile and smooth talk, a predator. Psychopaths walk among us every single day, disguised as friends, lovers, co-workers, even family. You won't know it hit you until you're drained, confused, questioning your own reality, and they've already moved on to their next target. The scariest part? Experts say around 1 in 100 people has psychopathic traits. That means you've probably already met one. Maybe you're dealing with one right now. And unless you know what to look for, they'll keep you under their spell, manipulating, gaslighting, and taking everything they can without a shred of guilt. But you're not powerless. In this video, I'm breaking down 5 unmistakable signs that you're dealing with a psychopath and exactly why you need to run, not walk, the moment you recognize them. These aren't textbook definitions. These are real-world red flags with examples you've probably lived through or are living through. Do not skip a second of this video. Missing even one sign could cost you years of your life: emotional abuse, broken trust, wrecked self-esteem. It's what they do best. But today, we're putting an end to it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get into it, because what you're about to learn could change everything. Number 1. Superficial charm and initial manipulation. Have you ever met someone who made you feel seen in a way no one else ever had? Someone who seemed to pick up on your rhythm instantly, matching your humor, your passions, your insecurities, like they were tailor-made just for you. At first, it feels like fate. They remember the smallest things you say, show up for you in ways no one else has, and say all the right words at exactly the right moments. It's easy to think, finally, someone gets me. But this isn't serendipity, it's strategy. This is how a psychopath enters your life, not with threats or hostility, but with charm so precisely crafted, it feels like love. Only it isn't. It's manipulation wearing a mask. They're not connecting with you, they're studying you. Every compliment, every shared interest, every thoughtful gesture is a tool they're using to dig deeper into your mind, learning what makes you tick, what you crave, and what you fear. It's not affection, it's reconnaissance. Let's break this down. Psychopaths are emotional tacticians. They learn early in life how to mimic empathy and connection, but they don't feel it. They know that if they mirror your values, your dreams, your vulnerabilities, they can lower your defenses and gain your trust. So when you mention you've been feeling burned out at work, and suddenly they're the one person who completely understands, it feels like connection. But in reality, they're identifying a weakness to exploit later. Let's say you told them once, casually, that you're obsessed with true crime documentaries. The next thing you know, they've put together a binge-watch night, snacks included, referencing details you barely even remembered saying. At first, it's flattering. But look closer. This isn't about shared joy. It's about control. It's about building the illusion of intimacy fast, so you let your guard down faster. That's how love bombing works. It's not chaotic or wild. It's systematic. You're showered with validation, affection, attention, and availability. Your phone is blowing up with sweet texts. They're talking about your future together within weeks. They make you feel chosen, special, safe. But the truth is, it's all conditional. Because the moment you say no, or take back a little control, maybe you don't respond right away. Maybe you question something they said, the switch flips. The warmth turns to ice. Suddenly, they're distant, cold, even irritated, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. That's the first major red flag, superficial charm that disappears the moment you stop giving them what they want. It's confusing because they seem so genuine at first, but what you're really seeing is the mask slip. You were never in a relationship with the person they pretended to be. You were in a transaction. And when the transaction no longer benefits them, they disengage fast. The psychological toll this takes is real. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you overreacted, if maybe they're just having a rough day. You rationalize their shift in behavior because the contrast is so stark, it doesn't make sense otherwise. But this emotional whiplash is a feature, not a bug. It keeps you guessing, keeps you off balance, and makes you easier to control. So how do you protect yourself? Here's where Stoic philosophy offers clarity. One of the core ideas in Stoicism is the distinction between what you can control and what you can't. A Stoic doesn't seek to control others. They focus on mastering themselves. That means recognizing when your emotions are being hijacked. It means slowing down, observing the facts, and resisting the urge to react emotionally to intense charm or sudden coldness. It means asking yourself, am I being loved or am I being studied? When you feel overwhelmed by charm, when someone seems too perfect too quickly, pause. Real connection builds slowly through mutual understanding, not scripted gestures. If someone is rushing intimacy, overwhelming you with praise, adapting to everything you say without friction, that's not authenticity, that's manipulation. Trust your gut. Often, your instincts will whisper before your mind catches up. That uneasy feeling when someone seems too good to be true. That's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Your brain is picking up on inconsistencies you haven't consciously processed yet. You don't need to panic. You don't need to fight. You just need to observe, stay grounded, take space. Let time reveal who they really are, because psychopaths can't keep up the performance forever. Eventually, their true self will surface, especially when you assert a boundary or disrupt their control. In the end, Stoicism isn't about shutting off your emotions. It's about understanding them and refusing to let someone else dictate them. You can still be kind, warm, and open, but do it with your eyes wide open. Know that not every perfect connection is real. Some are traps dressed up as love. So, if someone's affection feels more like a spotlight than a steady glow, too intense, too tailored, too sudden, pause. Take a step back. That's your first sign. The charm isn't a gift, it's bait. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you can protect yourself from the damage that follows. Number 2, pathological lying and manipulation. You're sitting in your car, scrolling through your texts, heart pounding. You know what he said yesterday. You remember it word for word. But now, Matt is claiming he never said any of it. Not only that, he's implying that you misunderstood, overreacted, maybe even imagined the whole conversation. He's calm, collected, confident. Meanwhile, you're spiraling. You start second-guessing yourself. Did I misinterpret it? Did I come off too strong? Maybe I am overthinking things. This is what pathological lying and psychological manipulation look like in the real world, not just as vague concepts, but as daily experiences that slowly chip away at your sense of reality. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, you're not alone. This is sign number 2, that you might be dealing with a psychopath. And it's one of the most dangerous because it doesn't just confuse you, it rewires you. People like Matt don't lie the way most people lie. This isn't about avoiding conflict or saving face. Psychopathic lying is compulsive and strategic. They lie when they don't have to, when the truth would be simpler, easier. They lie because it gives them power. Controlling the narrative means controlling your perception, and eventually, controlling you. They craft stories with disturbing ease, stories about their past, their friends, their job, their emotions. They might tell you about a traumatic experience that earns your sympathy, only for you to later discover that details keep shifting. What was once a tragic accident becomes a violent betrayal, depending on who they're talking to. One day, they were raised by a strict single father, the next, a neglectful mother. You start noticing the cracks, but each time you question them, they twist the story again. They might get angry or play the victim. Somehow, you always end up feeling guilty just for asking. And this is where it gets truly toxic. Gaslighting, that deliberate psychological war of making you question what you know to be true. They say something cruel, then later insist it never happened. They make a promise, break it, and then deny ever agreeing in the first place. They push your buttons, then accuse you of being too emotional when you react. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You stop speaking up. You start filtering your thoughts through a fog of self-doubt. Let's return to Matt for a moment. He tells you that your coworker, Jen, has been talking behind your back. He says he's just looking out for you. Meanwhile, he's telling Jen that you have a problem with her. He stirs the pot from both sides, quietly enjoying the chaos he created. It isolates you, makes you feel paranoid. The only person who seems to understand what's going on, the only one who seems to have your back, is him. But it's a trap. He's manufactured the drama to ensure he remains the center of your emotional world. This tactic is called triangulation, and it's devastatingly effective. It cuts you off from support while elevating his role in your life. Psychologically, what you're dealing with is someone who lacks a functioning moral compass. Psychopaths don't feel guilt the way you do. They don't struggle with remorse. Their lies aren't slips, they're weapons, and they wield them with precision. They understand the emotional weight of words. That's why they include just enough truth in their lies to make them believable. They study you to see what version of reality you're most likely to accept, and once they find it, they stick to it with unnerving conviction, even when caught red-handed. What can you do when you're caught in this kind of mind game? Here's where Stoicism can be a lifeline. One of the core tenets of Stoic thought is learning to distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. You cannot control someone else's truth or their refusal to tell it, but you can control your response to it. Stoicism teaches emotional discipline, not detachment. It means observing without immediately reacting, stepping back and asking, is this true or is this manipulation? You don't need to convince them. You don't need to win the argument. You need to protect your mind, your clarity, your peace. Document what happens. Write down conversations, dates, events not to use against them, but to remind yourself what's real when the lies start piling up. Give yourself hard evidence when your brain starts to waver. Talk to people you trust outside the influence of the manipulator. Let them remind you of who you are, of what really happened. And most importantly, when you notice these patterns when the truth is constantly shifting, when your memories are under siege, when you're made to feel unstable for asking questions, recognize it for what it is: psychological warfare. You are not broken. You are being broken down by someone who sees your confusion as an opportunity for control. That's your second unmistakable sign that you're dealing with a psychopath: pathological lying and psychological manipulation. And it's not just a reason to worry, it's a reason to run. Because the longer you stay, the further you'll drift from your own reality. And once that happens, getting back to yourself becomes a much harder battle. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. Number 3, lack of empathy and emotional depth. Have you ever poured your heart out to someone, told them about your struggles, your heartbreak, your fears, only to be met with a hollow stare or a flat, too perfect response that made your skin crawl. You sit there emotionally exposed, hoping for comfort, only to feel like your pain bounced off a wall. That moment when someone hears your vulnerability and reacts like they're watching a scene in a movie instead of living it with you, that's a glimpse into what it feels like to be with a person who lacks empathy. And that's the third major sign that you're dealing with a psychopath. Psychopaths can observe emotion. They can recognize it, label it, even imitate it with unsettling precision. But they cannot feel it, not the way healthy humans do. What you're experiencing with them isn't connection, it's performance. It's like watching someone deliver a flawless monologue in a play. Everything is in place, the right words, the right expressions, but something is missing. That intangible human spark, the soul of it. Empathy is the heartbeat of emotional connection. It's what makes us flinch when someone else is hurt. What allows us to sit in silence with a grieving friend and feel their sorrow in our own chest. Psychopaths don't have that capacity. They're emotionally deaf. They see your feelings like someone watching a movie on mute. They can describe what's happening, but it doesn't touch them. And because of that, their responses to suffering can feel bizarrely off. When you're anxious or heartbroken, they may offer advice that sounds logical but feels robotic. Or worse, they might respond with annoyance because your distress is inconvenient to them. They don't process your sadness as something to hold space for. They see it as a disruption to their comfort or control. This emotional vacancy isn't just hard to understand, it's dangerous. Because psychopaths view people not as individuals with worth and dignity, but as tools. You're useful or you're irrelevant. That's it. This isn't the same as selfishness. Selfish people can still feel guilt. They can still regret causing harm. A psychopath doesn't. To them, your emotions are data, something to study, manipulate, or weaponize later. You'll notice it in subtle, unsettling ways. You're grieving the loss of someone, and they make a joke about it or brush it off. You're telling them about something that shattered you, and they look more bored than moved. These aren't just signs of emotional immaturity. They're windows into a mind that does not operate like yours. You may try harder, thinking if you explain it differently, show more emotion, they'll finally get it. But they won't. They can't. Even their closest relationships suffer from this lack of depth. They can mimic love, sometimes for months or even years, but eventually the mask slips. They grow irritated by your need for emotional connection. They become cold, distant, and you're left wondering what changed. The truth is, nothing changed. You just ran out of usefulness, or the performance became too exhausting for them to maintain. And when you show vulnerability, true vulnerability, they don't meet it with compassion. They store it like ammunition. That thing you told them during a late-night conversation, the secret you shared when you thought you were safe, it's now in their arsenal. One day, when you're hurting, they'll use it against you, twist it to shame you or break you down. That moment reveals everything you need to know. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful lens here. The Roman philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you're in a relationship with a person who lacks empathy, your imagination will fill in the emotional gaps. You'll want to believe they care. You'll interpret crumbs as love, mistaking cold analysis for concern. But Stoicism teaches you to ground yourself in what is, not what you wish it were. If someone repeatedly meets your pain with indifference or self-interest, believe them. Don't chase their potential, see their patterns. What's within your control is your own emotional clarity. Pay attention to how you feel around them, not just during the highs, but when you're low. Do they lean in with warmth, or do they withdraw? Do they use your feelings as a bridge or as leverage? Stop waiting for empathy. to show up where it doesn't exist. Protect your emotional truth. Don't try to fix someone who doesn't even see the problem. So ask yourself, have you ever been in a relationship where you felt emotionally alone, even when the other person was physically there? Where you shared your soul and received a lecture or a smirk in return? Did it ever feel like your pain was being studied instead of shared? If that resonates, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. How did you recognize the lack of empathy in someone close to you? What finally opened your eyes? And if this is helping you connect the dots, subscribe now. You're not just watching a video, you're taking back your power. You're becoming someone who can see clearly, act wisely, and protect your peace. Number 4, parasitic lifestyle and systematic exploitation of others. It starts so subtly, you don't even realize what's happening. A borrowed car, a week-long stay that stretches into months, a shared credit card just for emergencies. They never frame it as taking, they call it sharing, supporting each other, or building a future together. But the truth is darker. You're not in a partnership, you're being harvested. This is the 4th unmistakable sign you're dealing with a psychopath, a parasitic lifestyle and systematic exploitation of others. Not someone who occasionally leans on you in hard times, but someone who makes a lifestyle out of using people as stepping stones, someone who sees your time, your money, your energy, your space, not as yours, but as theirs to access, drain, and discard. Let's say you meet someone like Erin. She's charismatic, full of ambition, constantly dreaming up business ventures, travel plans, and exciting ideas for the future. At first, it's inspiring. She makes you feel like life could be bigger, fuller, more exciting. But those dreams always seem to come with a price. There's always a roadblock, an investor who backed out, a family emergency, a temporary cash flow issue. And you're the solution every time. She frames each request as an opportunity for both of you. It's not about her needing help. It's about you two building something great together. So you loan her a bit of money. She promises to pay you back next week, then next month, then never. You let her crash at your place for a few nights. Before you know it, she's moved in, stopped contributing, and subtly made your home hers. These violations don't come all at once. They creep in, one small boundary crossed at a time. Psychopaths don't just take, they believe they're entitled to what they take. That's the difference. They don't view your sacrifices as generosity. They see them as overdue debts. The world owes them, and they don't feel a single ounce of remorse when they bleed you dry. To them, people are resources, emotional, financial, social. Like leeches, they latch on, suck the life out of you, and drop off the second you stop being useful. This parasitic behavior is almost formulaic. First, they idealize you. You're everything they've been searching for. Then, once they've pulled you in, they begin the slow process of devaluing you. They question your judgment, mock your goals, make subtle comparisons to others, chipping away at your confidence. And once they've taken everything they wanted, they leave coldly, quickly, sometimes right when you need them most. But they rarely leave without keeping some strings attached. Maybe they hold on to your Netflix password, still use your Uber account, or keep a key to your place, just in case. These aren't just oversights. They're tactics, tools they might need to extract more from you later. Meanwhile, you're left not just financially drained, but emotionally hollow. You question your instincts. You doubt your worth. You wonder how you didn't see it coming. The truth is, they're skilled at spotting the people most likely to give. They look for empathy, success, or recent vulnerability. Maybe you just got out of a long relationship. Maybe you're dealing with loss or starting over. They read these cues like predators tracking prey, and they don't feel shame about it. In their minds, if you were smart enough, you wouldn't have let them in. That's the cruelty of their logic. They blame you for what they do to you. Psychologically, they operate with a hollow sense of self, often masked by grandiosity or relentless charm. They don't form real bonds, they form attachments that serve a purpose. If you stop serving that purpose, your value drops to zero. This is where Stoic philosophy can become a shield. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." A psychopath's hunger is endless. No amount of love, help, money, or support will ever be enough for them, because they don't want connection, they want control. You can't outlive their need. You can't fix their void, but you can protect your own. Stoicism teaches us to place our peace above possessions, our virtue above validation. When someone repeatedly takes more than they give, when your boundaries are being tested over and over, it's not your job to keep justifying your limits. It's your job to hold them not from anger, from wisdom. Because once you see their pattern clearly, you no longer owe them access to your life. Recognize the exploitation for what it is, not just inconsiderate behavior, but a deliberate method of survival that comes at your expense. Reclaim your space, your time, your money, your self-respect. Because to a psychopath, your generosity is just a resource to exploit. And the longer you wait to draw the line, the more they'll take. The sooner you see it, the sooner you can walk away with what's left intact. Number 5, impulsive and irresponsible, even in the face of undeniable harm. There's a certain type of person whose life always feels like it's teetering on the edge of chaos. No job seems to stick. Their romantic history reads like a trail of broken promises. They tell stories of betrayal, unfair treatment, bad luck. But the common thread is that, somehow, none of it is ever their fault. Spend enough time around them, and you'll find yourself cleaning up messes that aren't yours, carrying burdens you didn't create, and apologizing for things you never did. This is the 5th and final warning sign that you may be dealing with a psychopath: impulsivity and a chronic refusal to take responsibility. Unlike the slow, calculated manipulation of earlier signs, this one can feel almost frantic. Psychopaths crave stimulation the way a drowning person craves air. Boredom to them is unbearable. Routine is suffocating. So they chase the next thrill, whether it's a new job, a spontaneous move across the country, or a reckless relationship. They live moment to moment, with no regard for how their choices affect others. The fallout is left in their wake, like broken glass shards others are forced to walk across. Take someone like Jason. At first glance, he's magnetic. He's always talking about his big plans, new ventures, exciting ideas. But behind the charm is a consistent trail of destruction. He bounces from one startup idea to the next, never seeing anything through. He borrows money he doesn't repay, crashes at friends' places longer than invited. And when things inevitably fall apart, he spins the same narrative. It wasn't his fault. Investors pulled out. His ex was too controlling. His boss didn't appreciate his vision. That's what makes this pattern so destructive. It's not just the chaos, it's the denial. Most people, when they mess up, reflect. They feel guilt, try to make it right, or at least learn from it. Psychopaths don't. They rewrite reality in their favor, casting themselves as the victim every time. They're allergic to accountability. And they do it so convincingly that you might find yourself believing them, defending them, even as they slowly erode your peace and drain your energy. Psychologically, this reveals something deeper than immaturity or bad habits. It reflects a fractured moral compass, where personal pleasure always outweighs the well-being of others. There is no internal brake system, no pause between desire and action. They act first and deal with the consequences, if at all only when they're forced to. And even then, the blame is never theirs. This lack of responsibility isn't random, it's strategic. It allows them to keep moving without emotional weight, without repair, without reflection. Stoic philosophy offers clarity in the face of this kind of chaos. Chrysippus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "He who errs in action, errs in judgment." When you're caught in someone else's storm, it's easy to feel like the irrationality around you is your fault, that somehow you didn't do enough, weren't supportive enough, weren't understanding enough. But Stoicism teaches you to separate yourself from another person's dysfunction. Their erratic choices are not your burden to carry. You cannot find peace trying to hold together someone who thrives on disorder. When someone's life is a cycle of self-inflicted damage, when they spin out over and over and expect you to catch them every time, it's not just instability, it's entitlement. You'll notice it in the way they demand forgiveness without apology, commitment without consistency, support without contribution. You'll hear it in their stories, where they are always wronged and never responsible. And you'll feel it in the exhaustion of constantly explaining away their behavior, the discomfort of being blamed when you say no, the guilt they project when you finally start protecting your own boundaries. There's also something deeply disorienting about their emotional volatility. They can be playful and affectionate one day, cold and cruel the next. These dramatic shifts often appear the moment they're held accountable, or when the consequences of their behavior become too real. It's not a mood swing, it's a defense mechanism. When faced with the truth of their actions, they either explode, disappear, or transform into someone you barely recognize. The change is so jarring that you start to question your memory of who they really are. The solution is not to fix them, it's to free yourself. Because no matter how much compassion you offer, how many second chances you give, or how tightly you hold on, they will not change, not because they can't, but because they don't see a problem. The idea of growing up, of being accountable, of choosing stability over chaos, holds no appeal to them. The very behaviors that cause destruction are the ones they use to feel alive. You must see this for what it is, not an unfortunate character flaw, but a way of life that will pull you under if you stay too close. Practicing Stoic detachment here doesn't mean hardening your heart. It means protecting your peace. It means understanding that compassion does not require you to be collateral damage in someone else's disaster. You are not obligated to fix what they continually choose to break. If any of this felt painfully familiar, you're not alone and you're not crazy. You've just seen behind the mask. Now you know the truth, and with that comes power. Don't wait for more damage. Protect your peace. Trust your gut. And if you're ready to take your life back, subscribe now. This channel is your space to heal, learn, and stay one step ahead of the manipulators. Hit that button, join our community, and never let anyone make you doubt your reality again. You've got this, and we've got you.